Okay, so let's just do it right away. So I'm literally gonna record some vocals like right away. Okay, let's just to demonstrate everything, I'll record these vocals quickly. Let me remind you. Okay. Let me remind you. Let's do it again. It was so bad. Okay, I actually wait 1 second. Let me remind you. Okay, that was nice. Let's do it one more, another one, and then we'll come right away. I'll just do it right away. Okay. However, let me remind you. However you wish. I'm just literally recording really bad right now, but that's not the point because we're gonna demonstrate. So all my vocals in the song right now already tuned, and I didn't want to just open up a brand new project for this. I just wanted to just do it right away on the set, like on my own song. My attention. Okay. Okay, I forgot the lyrics, guys. What was it? My attention, I'm a don't. My attention, I'm a don't. My attention, my attention, I'm a don't. I can't believe. Just to quickly demonstrate, like, you know, just to take some vocals and demonstrate, because since I don't have anything untuned on the session, I won't be able to demonstrate on the existing vocals because they're already tuned, you know. Okay. Can't go and remind you, however you my attention and my thought can't coexist. Just an example. I mean, it's not exactly what I will put in the song, but again, we're just gonna do like a Melodyne example here. So I'll just do quickly comp. Let me remind you, however you my attention and my thought can't go. Let me remind you, however you my attention and Okay. Let me remind you, however you my attention and my thought can't coexist. I can't believe. Let me remind you, however you my attention and my thought can't coexist. I can't believe. Let me remind you, however you my attention and my thought can't coexist. I can't believe. Okay, so let me remind you, however you my attention and however you my attention and my attention and my thought can't go. My attention and my thought can't go exist. So what I will do here on this one, I'll just put this one here just to, you know, I can give like a better demonstration. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'll just take this one here. Yeah, okay, great. So let's just tune immediately. Before I do that, this is like, I want to put like 6 here. I want to increase the gain. 6 on this one as well. This one also 6. Just because my gain is not good enough. So you probably won't hear when I play. Oh, wait, 1 second. Okay, let's do it. I'm just switching headphones. Right now I'm switching headphones. Test, test, test. Okay. So yeah, okay. So when I track the vocals, I use close back headphones. Actually, I can still use that one. I mean, it doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. I mean, we're just tuning vocals. Okay, now I'll just grab Melodyne. Is it even recording? Yeah. Okay. Melodyne. So let's just welcome to the masterclass. I'm joking. Okay, this is the so if you have aura support, you can just grab all this information to your Melodyne automatically. But on Ableton, we don't have aura support, so I have to like click on the transfer button. By the way, this is the version Melodyne Studio. That's the version. So I will just track this. Let's just rename these songs. Lead vocal A, lead vocal B, lead vocal C. Great. Let's put a color. Okay, great. Now I have Melodyne. So since we don't have the aura support on Ableton, we have to use this transfer button. So when you look at Melodyne, there's this button called transfer. So you click on transfer and then you play the audio. Let me remind you. So it captures it. So once you capture the portion of the audio or the entire thing, sometimes for the clients, I capture the entire audio. It's like 3-minute long audio, and then I start editing that way. But if you're working on word by word, you can also use this method. This method is really helpful. You can just record stuff word by word and fix those word by word. And if you don't like, you can re-record them. This is such a good method that, you know, just consider applying if you are into this vocal production type of stuff, or if you're recording vocals all the time. It's really good stuff. So you can actually see what you're able to fix and what you can't fix. But most of the things you can already fix on Melodyne if you are on Melodyne Studio. Okay. So first thing is first, I want to show you something really cool. Shortcuts. Before we start this, I'm going to show you the shortcuts. So when you go on settings on Melodyne, when you click on preferences, you're going to have this section. You're going to have this weird, interesting section. Click on that miscellaneous part and you're going to see shortcuts. So if you're working with Melodyne all the time, and if you are, vocal recording is a part of your life, I highly suggest using shortcuts. And then what happens when you get used to using shortcuts? You get used to using it, like, it takes like a month to get used to it. Let me write my shortcuts too. So first of all, I'll just quickly go over the Melodyne shortcuts. I know I told you that this was going to be a short video, but I kind of want to just show you everything right away. So I have my Melodyne shortcuts assigned like 1, 2, 3. So when I press 1, something else happens. When I press 2, something else happens. When I press 3, something else happens. And even 4 and 5. And I also have my shortcut T assigned. And I also have my shortcut Z assigned. Okay. So I use 1. So when I press, let's just talk about this. So when I press 1, Melodyne chooses this function. What is this function? I forgot the name of it. 1 second. The main tool. So when I press 1, it's choosing the main tool. I'll show you why these are so helpful. So when I press 2, it's choosing the pitch tool. Okay. So when I press 3, it's choosing note separation tool. So when I press 4, it's choosing pitch modulation tool. So I'm writing this down for you in case you want to assign the same in future. In fact, I'm going to make a video only on the shortcuts anyways. But yeah, let's just get to the topic. So before everybody else, you can actually, yes, if you want, you can at least see the potential of this program, you know. 5, I forgot what was the 5. Okay, this is the pitch drift. Yeah, pitch drift tool is my 5. So since I'm super used to using my shortcuts, I even forget the name of the tools, you know, pitch drift tool. But I know after tuning so many different types of vocals, I figured these are the ones that I use the most. And T, separate stress, because I tune vocals with a lot of vibratos. And this is the zoom, just the zoom. So these are my shortcuts. So I'm gonna show you like how you can actually assign those quickly, just to get the idea. Don't do it now. You don't want to be confused later on. Everything is like going to be under editing tools. So when you go here, editing tools, it says main tool. I just double click and press 1. That's all. For my zoom tool, I just go click on it and press Z. That's all. That's all I do. Pitch tool, again, I told you that I assigned my pitch tool, you know, 2. Pitch tool, when you press 2, that's your pitch tool. Automatically, you get to choose pitch tool. These are the shortcuts. Amazing. So zoom, Z. And I also have extra ones. Where are they? 1 second. 1 second, guys. It should be somewhere here. Was it here? 1 second. 1 second. I haven't assigned shortcuts for so long, so I maybe forgot. But yeah. Oh, I also have W assigned to sibilance tool, but I don't use sibilance tools anymore. That's why I forgot about it. So okay, pitch drift tool for 2, 4, 5, Z. Okay, so these are here. 1, 2, 3. I don't see the 3. Huh, okay, 3 is here, no separation tool. Everything is under this, guys, editing tools. So you can just click and assign those. You can just decide which one you want to assign. Why, like, I have a different method that I mean, everybody has different. So when I press Z, I immediately see the zoom option. If I don't press Z, if I just press 2, I'm on a different tool. But what I do, so right now, the first thing is first, when I go on Melodyne, right, I track these vocals, but I can't see them, they're too small. What am I gonna do? Look for some different things here? No, all I have to do is to press Z. I press C, and all of a sudden, this becomes a zoom tool, and then I can just stretch it and make it bigger, shape it like this. When you press Z and you choose a zoom tool, you click and drag up and down, so it gives you the option to just scroll up and down. It gives you option to just zoom in and get your stuff fixed. So I really recommend before you even start tuning, just loop that section that you want to tune. I mean, this is like the fastest workflow that you can use. Try to loop that section that you want to tune. Try to zoom in one area. Don't try to listen to the whole thing and then try to tune everything at once. Focus on one or two, 3 words. In this case, this is the one. Let me remind you. Let me just increase the volume a little bit so we can see. Let me remind you. Let me remind you. Okay, so we have this, and I press Z, and I can actually zoom in, zoom out, so I can just make it like nice for myself to see. This is great. The second thing I may want to do this. Check this. I go on option. I mean, this is just the stuff that I do non-stop all the time. And you're gonna have your own style vocal editing, but this is the stuff that I do all the time. I go on option, I change the time grade however I like. I'm sure there's a shortcut for this too, but I haven't assigned it. Just didn't want to go crazy with the shortcuts. Just I picked my 5-6 tools that I use the most, and these are basically it. Like I don't use other tools. If I have to use any other tool, then I go find it. I don't overwhelm myself with 200 shortcuts, just 5-6. And it's actually faster. So I go on options just to make sure. I go on the time grid to see if I have a better option. So 116, why not? If I'm gonna time align stuff, maybe I can use it. And then I'm still on the Zoom, by the way, I'm still on the Zoom tool. So Zoom tool is allowing me to like zoom in a little bit more or zoom out if I want, if it's easier for me to see. Okay, great. So I picked my time grid too. This is great. So let's start talking about what you see on Melodyne. These look so confusing, right? Probably these look so confusing. But what I want you to just like think about this thing. Anytime you see like a blob, I want you to just think like there's like 3 parts on this blob. Let's zoom in a little bit more. So I don't know if you ever took any sound design classes, but any sound in the world, almost any sound in the world is going to have an attack. This is called attack. Let me just grab something. ADSR. Sound. I just want to show you the image of it. Okay. So every sound in this planet, we have attack. We call this attack, right? Look at this, Melodyne, and you have your vocals. It's the same thing. You have an attack. This note, you also have an attack. This one also have an attack. All of them, each of them are gonna have an attack. Okay, that's the first thing to explore. That's the first initial transient is the attack. We call it attack, or we call it like a transient, or we can call it like a first initial note, right? And the second thing, we can call it sustain, decay, or sustain, decay and sustain. So we have this decay. You can call it either, probably you shouldn't call it decay, but just call it like sustain. So when it comes to vocals, just think like 3 parts. 1, attack. 2, sustain. Sustain means it's in the middle. It's in the middle. This is attack. This is sustain. Okay. And then after this, I'm just gonna stop giving this example now because we're talking about vocals, because you're gonna have like 3 of them anyways. So, and the tail. So anytime you see like a Melodyne blob, they call these blobs. So you know what happens? People just go try to tune these like this, and then they destroy the audio. That's not how you do it. That's not how you should do it. Anytime you see a blob like this, you should know it's consistent. How do they say it in English? It includes 3 parts. 1, attack. Let me separate that attack then. How do you separate that attack? We use node separation tool. This is the one. When you click on this one, this is the node separation tool. Or on Melodyne, I believe you're supposed to have these options here. If you don't have these options, we're gonna have to find out why you don't have those options, but you should be able to have those options. So again, this is a tool. When you look at this, even if you can't find that, it's here. Node separation tool. This is the one I use all the time, non-stop. Reason because every Melodyne blob has a transient, meaning attack, a sustain, meaning the middle, and the tail. So it contains 3 parts. Again, if you try to just use what they show on YouTube, it's crazy. Like they just show you to just use this pitch modulation tool and tune it like this. No, that's not going to sound good. That's going to sound really bad, actually. It's going to sound worse than many bad tuning tools. So again, the Melodyne, if you don't know how to, if you use it correctly, Melodyne is a super tool. There's nothing you can't fix on Melodyne. So again, let's go back to our 3. When I press 3, it chooses the note separation tool because that's how I assigned it here on the preferences, right? Editing tools, when you go on the editing tools, you just press 3. Should be somewhere here. Yeah, 3. See, note separation tool. Super easy. So that's why I'm always gonna see this blob and I'm always gonna like separate that with my eyes. First, let's separate the transient from the sustain here. And wherever I pick, it doesn't matter actually, I can pick here. Yeah, so this is my transient. In fact, you can actually take this, change where you cut later on. Note separation tool. I call it all the time cut, but it's not cut. It's called note separation tool. And this is the sign for it. When you hover over your mouse, if you see this sign, that's the sign, note separation tool. See, this is the one with 2 arrows to the left and right. So, okay, so transient. I like this transient, it's there. And then my sustain, I want to cut the sustain from the tail. Where should I cut it? I can cut it here, but no, there's still sustain here. You shouldn't do it. You just do it here because that's the tail. Do you see? Tail starts right here. So don't be scared of this stuff because in time, your eyes are going to get used to. In a month or so, you'll be like, oh my God, like, yeah, that's the tail, that's the sustain, the 3 parts. So most of the time, what we do, we are going to have to tune them separately. You don't have to touch, sometimes you don't have to touch the transient sometimes because normally this is what I see. The reason, look, I'm going to zoom in to show you. The reason we have this looks like out of tune right now, right? It looks like I should just move it here, right? No, don't do it. You don't have to do it always. Depends on the voice. So this one, my voice was a little bit punchy. Let's listen. Let me remind you, mind you. When I was saying mind you, mine was a little bit punchy. So when you have like a punchy words like this, you may actually see the transient going a little bit up like this. So by the way, when you're moving your note, you don't have to just double click and lock it to the key. You don't have to do it all the time. I mean, there are times that you're gonna do it, but this is not one of those. For the transients, you wanna treat them differently. So what I do, I press Option so I can just fine tune them like this. I can just fine tune them like this. So what I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to kill the whole punch, right? So if I lock this here, I'm gonna kill the punch. Let me remind you. See, it's less punchy now. It's gonna sound less punchy. This is like one of those really detailed tricks, but this is where people make the mistake of on Melodyne. Most of the time, their tuning doesn't sound natural because of this, because they tune the whole thing. They tune the transients too. You're gonna tune the transients, yes, but you have to be gentle with the transients because that's like the punch, you know. Sometimes I see when people like tuning the vocals, most of the time actually, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, they're using different tools and when they tune the vocals, the punch is gone. Now it sounds like a background vocal. Guess why? There's a reason for that because you just tune the whole thing. You tune the transient, right? So that's why I don't I don't recommend tuning the transient lock into the key. But again, this is what you're gonna see most of the time online on YouTube. This is what you're gonna see. They're just gonna tune the whole thing. They're not even gonna cut it into 3. They're just gonna tune the whole thing and then it's gonna sound like robotic. And then they'll be like, oh, maybe I should just use auto-tune instead because that sounds better. No, it's just the Melodyne is a little bit tricky. It's a little bit more detailed. So, okay, so I wouldn't tune this perfectly because I know that this is like a punchy vocal, right? So I'll just, I press Option. So by the way, this is the tool I'm using. I forgot to tell you which tool I'm using. Pitch tool. So there's a pitch tool here. This is the one. You can also get the pitch tool here to look. When you right click, you should have this menu. If you don't have this menu, it's fine. You should have this menu at the top. This is the tool. I assigned this tool to number 2. So when I press 2, it's gonna activate the pitch tool. It's gonna switch to pitch tool so I can actually click and drag. But what happens, Melodyne won't let me drag like this. right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to press Option and drag. If I don't press on Option, it's just going to lock it. It's not going to let you move in between. But the transients, the first initial note is always in between. It's never in the key. Unless it's like a background vocal, you know. It depends on the punchiness, depends on the, you know, like there are different types of vocals that you can tune on Melodyne, rap vocals, soul type of vocals. Strategy is changing for every type of vocal. But for this one, it's like a more rhythmical type of vocals. So I don't want to kill those transients. It's beautiful. And you should know, people are going to hear this. People are going to hear this as a punch, the first initial note. But this one, people are going to think that's the pitch. So you have to tune this one. You have to sometimes heavily tune this one. It happens a lot. I see it a lot. This sustained part, even if it's like a short one, you want to tune that. You can double click on this one. But what happens when you double click? If you're on this option, pitch tool, if you assign a shortcut, if you choose the pitch tool, and then if you double click, it's going to tune it anyways for you. Great. You're all set. Exactly. Now, human ear is going to hear this section and it's going to think, oh, it's in tune. And it's going to hear this section. It's like, oh, it's punchy, right? How about this one? How about this one? If you want a little bit more pop type of, like really, really super tuned vibe, then my recommendation, double click on this one, tune this one too. Again, we are on the pitch tool, right? You can do that. So that way, look at this. This like even, look at the vibe here, even. For this one, the one in the middle, look, you know what? We didn't even have to do heavy tuning here. But if I want to, if I see, let's say this note is like a little bit longer, and there's like, I see variations, but right now I don't have any variation here. But when I see some variations, something I can do about it. So normally I press 4, which means pitch modulation tool. So it's under here. If you don't have the shortcut design, don't worry, it's like under here. Just go pitch tool, go to pitch tool, click on it, hold the mouse like that, click, and you're gonna see that option. See, you have pitch modulation tool and pitch drift tool. So you pick pitch modulation tool. This pitch modulation tool is just going to kill that. It's just going to kill that variation for you. Let's kill that. Oops, great. Now I killed the variation, but now I got another problem. Look at this. Let's zoom in and find out. Look at this. This is going to sound like crap. So simple, because like you literally cut the whole thing here, right? You literally cut it and then you heavily tune this part, which is what I always do for client vocals. Yeah, you heavily tune it because you don't want that variation. You want that like pop, like super tuned vocal vibe, right? This is what you can do. If you don't want that super Backstreet Boys type of super solid pop vocals, then you don't need to go heavy on this. You don't really need to go so heavy. Just double click and you'll be fine. You should be fine probably. Anyways, but I do want that like really, really like super tuned vocals, right? But I want that super tuned vocals, but I also want super natural vocals. So it's going to sound like super natural, but it's also going to sound like it's in tune, like super tuned, not auto-tuned. Super tuned. I call it super tuned. So, okay. So now again, let's go back to our problem. Now I have a different problem. Look, this looks like it looks like it doesn't look natural. Anytime you see something like that, you should know that that's not natural. That's not going to sound natural. Like without even listening to the track, I can actually tune it without listening. I can look at it and I can say, this is not going to sound natural. What should I do? So I choose my pitch tool. Okay. Again, I go back to my pitch tool. I can choose any other, but I press the pitch tool. When I press 2, it's going to switch to pitch tool because I assigned my shortcuts. What you can do, you can actually do when you press pitch tool, when you go here, you're going to see something like this. What is this? It smooths out the transitions. I use this all the time. I use this all the time. When do I use it? This is one of those like most popular scenario that I use it because I literally have like a cut now here. It doesn't look natural, but this one is nice. This one looks smooth. So you need to smooth those out. If you want really, really like super nice, like your top notch, like radio quality, then these are the stuff that you really, really, yeah, it's gonna help you in the long run. You can totally get really like radio quality stuff with this. Again, I'm gonna go back to the topic. Sorry, I keep losing the topic. The pitch tool, you pitch the pitch tool, and then you use this function. You can actually smooth it out like this. So in our case, we didn't have to do so much. This one, I can actually smooth this out too if I want. Look at this. It's supposed to sound nicer. But if I do too much, then this is just gonna like, look, this is just gonna kill my transient too. So I don't wanna do too much. So my best bet was not to tune this heavily. This was not a good strategy for this vocals anyway. You know what happened? What just happened? I changed my mind. This is the third thing happens on Melodyne a lot because depends on the vocal, depends on the blob you have, depends on what you have here, and you're gonna see something similar but different each time. It's so crazy. It's similar to each other but completely different each other also. When this happens, don't worry. It's very easy. Right click. Just click on this blob, not this one. This is the one I want to fix, right? I said, oh my God, I tuned this too much. How do I back off? Right click. Go here, choose your pitch tool. Okay. Restore to original. You can restore to original. You can just delete, you can just choose pitch shift, but this is not what I use. I use this. Right click. Go pick this arrow main tool, okay? Because this tool has undo all changes. So it takes you back to 0. This is the one I use. So don't really bother these stuff. You know, start from scratch. That's just the one that I use the most. And don't get me wrong, I tried others too. If I did like a form and shift, and if I'm happy with my pitch, then why would I just undo everything? That happens sometimes too. But I feel like this is like the one that I use most of the time. Let's recap again. Right click. Go to the arrow. It's main tool. Go to main tool. Go up. Restore to original. Go here. Undo all changes. This is what I do all the time. So now that I have this again, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to tune this, but I'm not going to tune it too much. I'm not going to tune it too much this time. This time, I'm going to be easy on it. So I choose my pitch tool and, I choose my pitch drift tool. Sorry, pitch modulation tool is here. When I press 4, it's switching to pitch modulation tool. Pitch modulation tool is here. So under pitch tool, you have like 2 powerful tools, but this is the one you're going to use the most probably, pitch modulation tool. So again, that's the reason I assigned this to number 4. I use it all the time. When I press 4, it's switching to pitch modulation tool. And then I can actually tune it like this. Great. So what happens? So I did this little bit tuning, and then I'm going to switch to, I will press to number 2, which is my pitch tool. This is the pitch tool. So when you see the Melodyne menus here, don't get confused. Let's say it says when you click on this, you're going to see 2 more extra tools. This is like, you may think that, oh, this is like a menu that opens up the next, opens up two more buttons. No, it's actually, you have like three tools here. 1, 2, 3, okay? So when you go on this one, you may think this is like the drop-down menu. No, it's not the drop-down. You have like 1, 2, 3 tools here. When you go here, again, you have like just 1. When you go here, you have like 3 tools. Here, you have like 3 tools total. You have like just 2 tools total. I'm going to get into these ones too. This is the one you asked for. I'll explain that too. Okay, so now you know, like I'm picking the pitch modulation tool. And I already pitched it. I already lowered my variation. So that way it can sound solid. And then after that, I'm going to go to my pitch tool. Press 2. This is the pitch tool, the one at the top. And I'm going to double click. That's all I have to do. Double click. It's going to lock it to the note. And this is going to sound so much nicer. I still have my transient, but guess what? For this transient, I'm gonna take a little bit lower because I feel like it's just too much, you know. Because of this type of vocal, for the female vocal, and for this pop type of vocal, pop type of rap and pop type of vocal that I just delivered, we shouldn't have this much transient anyways. And I know this from experience. Just lower, you can lower it a little bit. You can smooth it out a little bit like this. In fact, I didn't even have to use this transition. This transition tool, I didn't even have to use this anymore. Great. Okay, so now go back. Okay, so transient, sustain, tail. Great, this one is done. Again, if you can see, like without even listening, I was able to tune. Isn't that wild? So sometimes when you look at the tail like this, let's listen what we got. Let me remind you, let's tune the whole thing so I can show you. Let me remind you, So let's see what is this one. I press 2 and I press on this. So when I press 2, meaning pitch tool, when I press pitch tool, I click on this. I hold my mouse. When I click, I can hear, I can demonstrate. That's really a good tool that you can use. That's a really good strategy. You can demonstrate. You can just see. This is how you can actually demonstrate. What I'm doing here, again, I'm choosing the pitch tool, the one at the top. Pitch tool. Click on the note. Click on the blob. They call these blobs. Click on the blob and hold your mouse. Yeah, click and hold. Great. But this pitch Melodyne gives me is not even correct because look at this. Melodyne detected like one single note. There are like so many there. Check. Let me remind you. Let me remind. See, there's so many. So what I'm going to do, sometimes Melodyne is not going to create those cuts for you. If you want really, really like radio ready type of vocal, then you want to have to cut those transients. So this is the transient. I cut that. And I cut this transient. I see some transients and I cut them, right? This is what I do. And there's like one more transient here. I see them, I cut them. This also looks like a transient. So I was able to do this really fast, but this is gonna happen in time. Like if the more you practice on it, how do you practice? Just record vocals and try to tune them. That's all I did. That's all I did. And then tune other people's vocals too. For practice if you want, or just tune your own vocals. So again, I detach the transients manually. Okay, let me remind you. Okay, so this one I feel like it's, maybe I can put this one here. See, when I just double click, I press 2, I pitch. Anytime I wanna lock something to the note, I press the pitch tool. I choose pitch tool, I double click, it locks it for me. But I don't touch the transient. That's the issue. Like that's the problem that people are having. That's the reason Melodyne tuning doesn't sound great if you're a beginner, because they have to execute the transients. So now let's see. Let me remind you. Let me remind you. Let me remind you. Let me remind you. So this is actually much better. So what I did, let's go back. Let's go back. So this was like, I locked this one into place. And this one, I was also able to like cut it a little bit. Actually, I wouldn't do it this way. I probably will just cut it. Okay. And I will move it manually. Yeah. Sometimes you don't have to lock it to the place. This one, I will lock this one to the place. Yeah. But this one, like, great. So sometimes I use my ears. Because, like, if I lock this, Melodyne is going to put it this way. Oh, you know, sometimes you can use your ears. For the transients, I probably wouldn't touch the transients. And this one, I probably take it up a little bit like this, move it by hand. How I do this, I press the pitch tool. I use the pitch tool, right? Pitch tool, and I press Option. I move it like this. In this case, this sounded better. And for this one, look, I see this looks like a different blob right now, literally. So how about we just like, it's all about finding the patterns. How about we just separate these? So separation is like a big thing in Melodyne. And surprisingly, separation is the one thing people never do. On Melodyne, people just don't separate stuff like this. They just tune the whole thing and then it sounds unnatural. So my recommendation, separate when you see like a down pattern. Look, this looks like a down pattern and this looks like a different pattern. Why not separate? Why not see if I can move them to the pitch like this in a more professional way instead of just tuning them, like killing the whole vibe, killing the whole character. So when since I'm still on the pitch tool, look what I do. I'll like create like a transition so they can sound like even. See? Now look at this. Remember before? This is after. This is after and it looks great. So it's gonna sound natural. Let me remind you. Let me remind. Again, so this one I'm gonna cut. Okay, so this is a big one. Anytime you see something like this on Melodyne, Melodyne doesn't like this stuff. You have to separate that. If you don't separate that, you're gonna see how terrible it sounds. That is like sibilance or T or P or chi sounds sometimes, but most of the time Melodyne detects sibilances. Not the harshness, not the chi P sounds, but the sibilances, S sounds. So if you don't separate those S sounds and if you try to tune the whole thing, Melodyne is gonna sound awful. And if it sounds awful, you know what to do. Just pick the note, right click, go here, main tool, go to restore to original, undo all changes. Great, that's what you can do. Because you're gonna have to try so many different things. That's why it's good to know right click, restore to original. It's a good method. Again, let's go back to the sibilance, our problem. So what I want, let's just zoom in a little bit. Again, I don't go look for menus here anymore. I use my shortcuts. So I zoom in, I'm like, oh, there's a sibilance here. Let's just like cut it nicely. How do you cut it nicely? You zoom in a little bit if you want, press, you choose your no separation tool. There's a no separation tool and there's a separation type tool. I'm gonna show you this one. Just wait, hang in there. So no separation tool, you click on this one, right? Double click. Oops. Okay, so you double click, create like a cut. Create like a cut. And then once you create that cut, you can actually always move it. This is great. You can move it actually. Great. So I was able to separate that part, meaning I'm not going to touch that because I know Melodyne doesn't like that. So I'm just going to leave that one alone. Any processing I can do here, any changes I can do here, but I'm not going to touch that one because that's just going to kill the whole thing. Okay, so now I have my transient. Great. Yeah, let's cut this transient here. See? And this is the rest. I can actually totally double click and lock this one, but I'm not going to touch the transient. So I barely touched the transient. This one, look. So you know what happened when I move this one? Now this one doesn't sound natural. So what I can do, I can just tune this one. Yeah, I'll just move it like this. And then I use this to make it sound more natural. Again, I'm doing this stuff without even listening. And you can do the same in future. Okay. Let me remind you. Let me remind you. This transient, I want to lower it a little bit. It sounds, some transients, when they're, some of the transients are going to sound pitchy. Be careful with that one. So this one sounds a little bit pitchy, so I'm going to control it a little bit more. But I'm still not going to lock it. Because when you lock it, you kill it. So we don't do that. We're being gentle with the transient. So again, at least for radio ready type of stuff, you know. Okay, so this is the one. Oh, pain. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to choose this one, and then I cut. First of all, there's 3 things I want to do. Look at this. I really want to dial into fixing this. And I don't want to touch this transient, to this transition. There's like a transient and transition. So this is transition. This is a transient. This is a tail. This is a sustain. This is a transition. So let's just cut this transition. I don't want to touch my transitions. That's another reason it doesn't sound natural, Melodyne tuning sometimes, because people tune the transitions too. So I'm gonna separate that transition. So I'll double click and then move my cut like this. So now I have separate. See, I've protected that transition. Now whatever I do wanna do here, it's not gonna affect this one. Great. And I can actually move this separately. And I'm still gonna have like a nice transition here that I protected. But if I was to like move the whole thing, and if I tune this, I shouldn't tune this. I shouldn't touch this. I mean, I can move it around, but I'm gonna do heavy tuning here. That's why I don't wanna like, I wanna separate the transition from transient. So this was transition, now this is my transient. Look at my transient is all over the place. Normally, a transient shouldn't supposed to be like this. A transient always gonna be like a little bit upper. And the sustain is going to be in the middle. But transient is normally like this. So what I do here, again, let's just go back to the original, restore to original. I just wanna show you one more time. Okay, now we are back to original. So what I will do, I will just select these three. I will press 2. This is what I will do if this was like a work related stuff. I will see, like I select, I press 2, I choose a pitch tool, select these, all three of them, click and drag. So you select these, you can press option now and you can move them however you like. Okay. So, and then I will just move this one a little bit down. But I want to make another cut here. Let's just make another cut. You can make as many cuts you want because I see a pattern here. So what happens if I just tune the whole thing? I can totally like do it. I can totally press pitch modulation tool. I can total tune the whole thing. But the more you tune like this is like heavy tuning. When you do that, it's gonna sound unnatural. Instead, I always recommend people to just use the cut tool. Cut when you see a pattern. Look, this looks like a different pattern. This looks like a different pattern. This one looks like a different pattern. Why not tune them separately? And maybe you don't even have to use the pitch modulation tool because you should know anytime you have to use this tool, pitch modulation tool, you are altering. You are literally altering the sound. So it's better to create more cuts, and just double click and move them as a whole instead of killing the whole thing. And in sec, I see one more. Maybe I could just do this. Double click. Maybe I wouldn't double click. Yeah, double click. See? And I can make one more cut if I want. Double click. So what I do, I keep cutting. See, this is how I tune. But how most people will do, I'll show you. I mean, you can do that too, of course. And they probably wouldn't have any of these cuts. Let's just go back to the cuts. They will just probably pick the pitch tool and kill this. You can do that too, but that's not going to sound so natural. Try and see. If it sounds natural, you're good. Let's see. Let me remind you. Let me remind. Because of the transition too, of course. So to ease out with the transitions, when you're on the pitch tool, you're going to see this thing. And just go here on the transition tool. When you hover over your mouse, you're gonna see the transition tool being there. It's hiding there. So you have to put your mouse to the correct place to see that at the end, most of the time at the end. So now I can actually move it up and down and adjust my transition. If it's so super auto-tuning, then I may actually go for increase. I can just click and drag my mouse up, scroll up, click and scroll up, you're gonna have this. You're gonna have this thing. Oops. Okay, so you can do that. Let me remind you. But still, you saw that, right? We still damage that. It still sounds like auto-tuning. It's not good. That's why what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select these two things. I'm selecting these two. Right click, restore to original, go back. Undo all changes. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. And this one was actually already here, so we fixed that one. And again, we're going back to my method, which is a safer one. We separate the transition from the transient. Again, this is the transition. Oops. Okay, sometimes Melodyne is not gonna wanna cut where you wanna cut. Then just make a cut and then move it. You can do that too. Okay, great. So you have the transition and this is your transient. Transition, transient, sustain, 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 and tail. Tail. Look. So you can have like multiple sustains. These are sustain, but they have like different patterns, right? One of them is like up, one of them are super pitchy. So what you're gonna do once you create your cuts nicely, and then all you have to do, just select those, press 2, pick your pitch modulation tool, select these, double click. Oops. Of course you have to, yeah, these ones supposed to be here. Okay, so you can select these multiple ones and move together. So let's see if it's more natural. Let me remind you. So much more natural. So much more natural. And I didn't even use this pitch tool, guys. I didn't even do the pitch. I did my cuts. And let's say you believe that, oh, those cuts are not sounding natural. What you can do, select these two, press your pitch tool. To select multiple notes, go to the pitch tool. Okay, this is the pitch tool. Select these. Let's say these for all of them, right? You select all of them. And then hover over your mouse. It's just going to smooth out all of it. Look how smooth it looks now. Check. Now listen now. Let me remind you. 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 So you can demonstrate, you can play in the background, you can play with it when it's playing in the background. You can see which one sounds natural, which one doesn't. So of course you're gonna need to use your ears eventually. Even though Melodyne is super powerful, it gives you everything. But again, you can totally use your ears when you need. Or if you don't want to just smooth out the whole thing, just select these two. You see like variation here, right? Select these two and play with this one. See? Just select these two. Great. So yeah, it should sound more natural now. Let me remind you. Let me remind. Still sounds a little bit auto-tuney, but I can totally like create like another cut here. Just because this was like a little bit up, so I was able to preserve some of those transition by cutting. So very important thing about Melodyne, just try to have as many cuts as you want. The reason I recommend cutting instead, like if you are working on demo vocals, then you may be just fine tune. You don't have to do this maybe. You don't have to do so much detailed work. But if the record is gonna make it to the radio, or you know, if you're gonna release, like it's so much better to just cut and tune them like this, like word by word. So okay, look how many cuts we made. But sometimes you don't have to go crazy like this. But let's see. Let me remind you. 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 So another reason that I do these cuts, another reason I separate the transitions from these tails and tune them like radio ready type of vocals, right? This is the reason I separate the transients from the tails, transitions. Most people wouldn't do that, and many singers wouldn't need that either. But if the song is a serious song, if you're make it to radio, then this is an approach that you can use. But what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something else. 1 second. Let me remind you. Oh, yeah. Okay. Another reason I want to do this detailed work on the vocal, lead vocal thing, I want to like literally tune things, and I want to make it sound natural. Another reason is because when you put a reverb, the reverb is going to be out of tune. See, I'm saving you like the trouble of tuning your reverbs. So if you have the detailed work on tuning on Melodyne, then your reverbs are going to sound great, because your reverbs are taking all the information. But since these are like transients, these are short, Look at this. This is a transient. This is like a sustain. Sustain are always longer. So what happens when you have a vocal like this and sustain portions are like tuned, meaning your reverb is going to behave. This is like maybe last 2-3% of things. Maybe you may not even need it. Maybe you don't even need so much reverb, but that's something to consider. If you know, like if you want really like the reverb to sound more professional too, tuning also is important. Yeah, you may not have to do this all work. You may not have to create these cuts. You can just use the pitch tool, right? You can just use the pitch tool, but then it's gonna sound like auto-tune. Or you could just like heavily tune everything. Yeah, that's gonna sound like auto-tune. Or you don't have to tune everything. You don't have to create these cuts and tune everything. And then what happens? Your reverb sounds like, I don't know, like last 3%. This is how you get that. I believe this is how people get that last 2-3%. Because I actually, did some stuff for the releasing artists. And this is what I did for them. This is the method that I was using. And, you know, like a serious song, you know, these guys have like a serious song and want detailed but natural tuning. So, okay, so let's get to that other one. Okay, now we have this. Let's get to the second one. I want to show you finally. Let's just do Melodyne one more time. How many hours we've been recording? Oh my God, 1 hour. Okay, I'm so sorry. I promised that this video will be short, but let's just do it. Transfer. So I'm gonna track the second vocal here. Okay. Again, we don't have R on Ableton, so we have to do this literally. Mind you, however you wish, my attention and my tongue can't go. Okay. This one is however you wish, however you wish, however you wish. Okay, first thing is first, what we do, press C, zoom in, up and down, let's see. Terrible. So first of all, when I zoom out, like I can tell, or this is like out of pitch, so I'll just take this one here. However you wish, however you wish. And this one is like this. I'll probably move this one a little bit. And this one is out of tune. See, these are all short notes, so these are like out of tune. However you wish, however you wish, however you wish. However you wish, however you wish, however you wish, however you wish, however. See, I want to separate this part. So I press 3. I'm going to separate this part and I'm going to tune this one differently. Yeah, that's the note. And this one is here. However you wish, however you wish, however. Okay. But before I do that, I actually want to do one thing. Let's do that one thing. I'm going to go back, restore to original. Let's sort your tool because this is going to be like a perfect example. So let's say we have this. I don't want to make that cut because Melodyne detected as one word and Melodyne was right. Wish, wish. If you listen to this, it's going to sound like wish, wish. So what we're going to do, we're going to separate this note from this note. So this is your, like, this is the tool that you're going to use, but not quite often, but you're still going to need it. So what you can do, so right now, when you go on pitch tool, note separation tool, which is the one at the top. So click on that note separation tool, and you're going to see this, right? Great. So when you zoom in, what do you see? You see this line, right? Do you know what this line is? This line means that I'm cutting this for you. But I'm not cutting this for you completely. So you're going to have to put some more work to that one. So I'm cutting this for you, okay? Berlin, I'm cutting this for you. I know this is like a different note. This one is a different note. This one is a different note. This is a different word. This one is a different one. Different syllables. So I'm cutting it for you already. So Melodyne does it for me. But you can't just move it freely. What are you going to do? They are still all tied together. Ridiculous, right? I know. I wish it was like easier to find this out, but I had to watch I remember I had to watch so many stuff just to figure this thing out. Oh my God, like, oh, nightmare. These guys don't have like real Melodyne stuff. Anyway, so what are you gonna do? Super easy. So you're on the pitch tool, right? You go here, select these notes, right? This one, you want to separate this one from this one, right? Okay. Just, you can be on any tool. You can be on any tool right now. Just, your goal is to just select these two, okay? Select these two. And then go choose this one. Click on this one, you're gonna see the second function here, separation type tool. Okay, this is the separation type tool. Great, grab that one. So you know that you choose this one, you wanna cut those between. So Melodyne creates that ghost cut for you, but it's not a hard cut. So you need a hard cut. So what you do, you choose this. Again, you did that, and then you choose this tool, double click. But you have to hover over your mouse here in between. Double click. Great. Now let's look what it looks like. Look, now it's like a hard cut. Now you can actually move them separately. But how are you gonna do that? You're gonna need to pick one. My suggestion, just go to this main menu. So my main tool is number one. I assigned it to my number one. So that way I can select notes like one by one. I can choose this, I can choose this, and I can just choose whichever I want, right? This is the main tool. So I go on this one and I go to the tail. Look at this one. Look at this one. I choose this one. I'm sorry, what was the name of the tool? Time tool, okay? So I choose this one. I go hover over at the end. I press option. I make this one shorter. Now I can move, because now they're detached. And I can move this one like this. Great. Listen.
However you wish, 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 however you wish.
So now you can do it. Of course, we're not going to do it on this one, but you get the idea, right? You select the two notes that you want to separate. Let's just separate everything, and then we go back to the original. Don't worry. Let's just separate this one too. Choose this two. Go to your separation type tool. Choose your separation type tool. Now you have two notes, and you want to choose. This is the one. This is the ghost cut. Melodyne created this ghost cut for you, but you want to make it hard cut. So double click. Great. Now you're gonna have see, when you see this line with these little things at the top and the bottom, when you see this, you know that it's a hard cut. So you can actually like move these like separately, literally. Yeah, this is what you can do. But of course, that's not what but at least you get the idea. So now I will just go back to my main tool, so I can just select all this stuff. Anytime I select multiple stuff and I want to go back, I'll just right click. Select my main tool first, right click, restore to original, undo all changes, that's it. So now everything is back in place. And guess what? Let's say you don't want to move these notes freely anymore. You want to go back to the ghost cuts Melodyne gave you, right? How are we going to do that? Select these three, zoom, and then, so now I'm going to select my main tool again because I can select more. Actually, no, you can actually use this one like this. Select type separation tool and select your three notes and double click on those connections. So it's gonna do it for the whole thing for you. Or you can do this. You can just select these two, double click. That way you're back to Melodyne doing the cuts for you. Now these are attached, but you want to detach. Go here, select type separation tool, select these two notes, double click. Done. Now, see, we're able to move it freely. Again, we're not doing this now, but again, I showed you to demonstrate. Let's go back. I don't like this hard cuts that I created. I'm gonna go back. Let's just get rid of those hard cuts that I created. Yeah, that's what it does. Even if you go back to the original, your cuts never go back to original. You should know about Melodyne. Like, yeah, you have to undo the cuts too. You have to undo your cuts yourself. Select these three. I'm gonna select this three. I'll choose this separation type tool. And since I selected this three, so I double click on one of them and it's just gonna fix it for me anyways. So in fact, I didn't want to do it this way. Okay, let's just select this two, double click, see? Okay, great. Awesome. And I can still do this cut. If I can still pick this one and do it this way. I can create my own cuts later on. Double click. Oops, not that one. You select this separation type tool. Double click. Now it's like a ghost cut again. See? These are your ghost cuts. The Melodyne gave you automatically. Now you're back to 0. Again, so let's just do the basic tuning. So I will do this. When I do this tuning, I'll look at the transients and move it like this. So I look that this is like a transient. Maybe I may need to separate that. And to be able to give that punch, maybe I'll just keep it there. Right? There's just like some strategies. You don't have to tune everything, and you can give like extra punch if you actually, you know what happens, like so interesting, human brain thinks it's like a punch. When you just grab it like this, human brain is gonna think, oh, it's like so.
However you wish.
It's gonna sound more like a punchy. Test it with different vocals. It's just different for everybody's voice. But these are like, the tools don't change. You have strategies for different type of vocals is gonna change, but the tuning is never gonna change. So there's one thing you have to know. So what I will do, I'll just go back to original of these two. Undo all changes. This one too. I thought I did already. Okay, so, oh, the cut. Okay, so we had a cut here. 1 second. Okay, this is the cut. So I move the cut left to right. So I'll double click on this one because I want to lock this one to the G. And this one I don't want to touch. And this one I want to lock it to this one. And this one I want to lock it to A, yeah. Okay, let's see. I'm just doing like lazy tuning right now. Normally I wouldn't do it. I will just like, you know what I normally do? I will just press T, it will separate it for me. Isn't that crazy? So vibratos, it creates that for you. You can totally like fine tune those vibratos. If you have like a vibratos, just like right click. Where is that thing? 1 second. 1 second. You know, oh yeah, here, look here, separate note to trills. So you select that, okay? And then right click, you go, separate note as trills, that's it, you're done. And go back, it's under this one, separation, note separation tool. It's under note separation, and then you have separate notes as trills, and it's just gonna separate it for you. And you can do it not only for vibratos, you can do it for anything. If Melodyne thinks there's like it looks like a vibrato, Melodyne is gonna think, oh, that's a vibrato. Let me just let her fine tune vibratos. And I'm gonna show you how to tune vibrato too right away. Like this should be like an all-in-one video. Okay, so now I have this. Look what I can do here. Again, this is not a vibrato, but Melodyne did the trick for me, so I separated for me. So I'll just move stuff around a little bit still. I don't want it to be like super pitchy. For this one, I'll cut this little bit because this one looks like I don't want to touch that one. So I'll double click, separate that one. And this is one I will separate. This one I will separate. Double click, double click, double click. See, this is how I will tune. Or you can just, or you can just like do this approach. What you can do, you can just use this, kill the whole thing. But let's see if it sounds good. It's gonna sound like auto-tune maybe.
However you wish.
Actually, it didn't sound auto-tune. No, not bad actually. Why not? So for this one, look at this. The strategy is changing. I see this, ish. So you want to separate that one. Melodyne doesn't like those to be tuned. So definitely make sure you create that cut, move it around. So that way Melodyne is not going to touch that. When you try to tune this one, Melodyne is not going to touch it. So the transition, look, there's like a transition. Double click, cut that transition too. And then this one, press 4 or press pitch modulation tool. Click and drag it like this. Yeah, don't tune it too much. Don't tune it too hard. It should sound better. This one should sound so much better. And then what you can do, you can just press 2. Press 2. I mean, not press 2, but pitch modulation tool. Pitch modulation tool. Actually, no, the main tool. Actually, not that one. I'm a little bit tired, I guess. Okay. So yeah, pitch modulation tool, you can actually, 1 second. Pitch tool, sorry. So when you click on the pitch tool, the one at the top, you can actually smooth those out. See? You can smooth those out. Nice. Nice way to smooth. Look at this. We were literally able to smooth and fake this whole thing. Yeah, and we didn't have to tune heavily, which is great. This one I did the tuning heavily. Normally that's not what I will do. Yeah, I wouldn't do that normally. I have like respect to signals like that because, and yeah, I will probably separate the little tail. I wouldn't touch the tail. I don't tune the tails heavily or transients heavily. I don't touch them. I only tune the sustained parts, and I also try not to tune them just because as a strategy, you know, I'm supposed to be the very natural vocal tuner. You can find a lot of vocal tuners. Their work is not gonna sound natural. So I try to be the natural one. I mean, it's gonna sound like it's their voice. It's not gonna sound like it's tuned.
However you wish, 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 however you wish.
Did you see what I just did? It was sounding auto-tuning. So I pressed 2, meaning my pitch tool. This is the one, pitch tool. I pressed 2, pitch tool, and then I literally did this. Smooth out those transitions. That way it won't sound like auto-tuning because I did the tuning. I separate those transients, right? Now it sounds like
However you wish, however you wish,
a little bit more smooth.
however you wish, however you wish.
Now it sounds more natural. I mean, I don't know if you can hear the difference, but I can totally hear the difference, like if it sounds natural or not.
However you wish, 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 however you.
So you should know one thing about Melodyne. When we have like breathy parts, like ha ha, however you wish, when you have those parts, Melodyne, if you try to tune them, sometimes Melodyne is not gonna sound good. So try to tune them. Yeah, go ahead, move it around, move it up and down. But the moment sometimes it's just gonna add like weird resonance issues. Melodyne is gonna do it. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't. So I don't even know anymore. You know, I normally cut those. I just normally cut those just to be safe, you know, like, yeah, I cut those. What happens, like, and it doesn't even show the exact breath apart. So once I cut this, I move it around to see exactly, just move it to the left and right to see exactly where it's happening. Because sometimes it doesn't show you the whole thing. See, when you move the cuts, you actually see this. Like now it's like it's like a breath apart. You know that it's the breath. So this one, I could totally like take it and move it up. See, I didn't want to touch this one. I touched this one. Okay, nice. I want to smooth this one out. I'm still on the pitch tool. The most used tool is pitch tool for me. Pitch tool, I'm using a lot. Yeah. To smooth things out between. And then this one, double click. So it will lock it to the note. If you're on the pitch tool, just double click, it will lock it to the note. And this one, I'll just double click. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, double click, lock it to the note. So once you have the cuts, you can even like select these 3 and double click and lock it to the note. You can also do that. But again, for this one, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't touch it. Because I know it creates those artifacts when you have like a breathy section. It creates those artifacts. See, this one also I separated. This one I also separated. And I was going to separate the tail anyways, but there's like a breath at the tail. Like I wouldn't touch that. So I will make sure I wouldn't touch those. Yeah.
However you wish, however you wish, however you wish, however you wish.
It sounds super robotic. So what happens, since this is like, now I was just demonstrating, but now it sounds robotic. So I'll just select everything, right click, restore to original. That's it, you're back. So now you know the problem. Now you know that it sounds robotic. I just want to bring it a little bit up and just want to bring this a little bit down. Now I'm gentle because now I learned my lesson. I'll bring this one a little bit down, a little bit down. Now I'm more gentle, right? So I could take this one up, like, let's see.
However you wish, 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 however you wish.
Yeah, great. Not bad, not bad, not bad.
However you wish, however you wish, however you wish, however you wish.
Again, my voice is already not so ideal. Again, I'm not a vocalist, I'm not a singer, so I'm a vocal producer, though I can call myself that after all this thing, after doing these vocals for so many people. So, yeah, okay, so yeah, you get the idea, right? So now you know about the vibrato. So now I'm just gonna like do something. You get the idea. Let's just listen. Let's just listen.
Remind you, however you wish. Let me remind you, however you wish. Let me remind you, however you
see this one, the first one, the note, it's just not good enough. Not good enough. See, because we did this like fine tuning. We did so much tuning and on that last part.
Let me remind you, however you.
Yeah, because of the transition was not good. That's fine. How about we just like only for this transition we go back, restore to original. I do this all the time, don't worry. Okay, so let's just use the original. Let's see how it sounds.
Let me remind you, however you wish.
Actually, original sounds worse.
You, however you wish.
Let's just go back to all these three. Restore to original. Great. Now let's see.
Let me remind you, however you wish. Let me remind you, however you wish. Let me remind you, however you wish.
Great.
Let me remind you, however
so much more natural. So much more natural. Did you see like the restore to original? You're going to use it all the time. The moment it sounds unnatural, yeah, just go back, right? Select the area that you want to fix. I don't want to touch the rest. The rest sounds good, but only the transition part. So what I did, I picked the transition. I picked the transient. I picked this transition and transient. I had like two transition, two are in different notes. And I had the transient. So I select this tree, right click, go restore to original. You have to pick this main tool though, and then you go back to restore to original after that. So you're gonna see undo all changes. So that's what you can do. Okay, great. Now it sounds more natural. Let's listen now.
Let me remind you, however you wish.
And let's just check this one.
Wish. My dog can't coexist. My attention and my dog can't coexist. My attention and my dog can't coexist.
Okay, you know what? This is not gonna make a good example. I mean, I was like, I don't know what I was doing. My attentions and my dogs can't coexist. Okay. I'll just, yeah. You know, let's just re-record that part. Let's just make it like a normal class or tutorial or something. Let's just do it right, guys. Yeah.
However you wish. My attention's on my attention. I can't believe my attention. You wish. My attention and my dance can't.
Because I was like thinking, this is the problem. Like if you're like a producer, like you always think about the beat, like you never think about the vocals, you know, like just my brain is not set for that. So please, you know, like forgive me.
My attention and my dance can't.
Okay, let's cut that part. Oh my god, I feel so bad. Like I'm not terrible, guys. Normally it's not so bad. It's just that my voice is tired, you know, like yeah. Okay.
Can't coexist.
Let's do that.
My attention and my dance can't coexist. However you wish. Can't coexist. However you.
Okay, great. So we're just gonna tune that part because I want to save you time. You don't have to like watch me singing but not being able to sing entirely. You shouldn't torture yourself. I'm sure it's Saturday. You know, got better stuff to do. Let's just show you. I want to show you this thing. Like it's really dope. So again, since you guys are lucky, you have Aura. We don't have Aura on Ableton. Aura support. How do they say it in English? Aura. I don't know. All I know that we don't have it. So click on transfer. So
can't coexist.
Okay. So I have like some vibrato, like fake It's just not good. Okay, so what I do again, I put the zoom tool. When I press Z, it takes me to the zoom tool already. So I'm like quick. So what I do, guys, like I just record the vocal, I tune them immediately. If they need tuning, I tune them right away. So that way I know if I have like a vocal or not. Because I don't want to like be done with the vocal tracking and then go back to my desk and try to tune and then find out, oh my God, this sounds bad. When I was trying to tune with my Melodyne, it sounded terrible. Now I have to go back and track it again. I don't want to do that. I just want to tune like right away. If it's for my project, I like to just record and tune right away if possible. So I'm just gonna look at this vibrato. I want to see how many. Oh, 1 hour already. Okay. Let's just get to the point. Okay, so this is the one, guys. So when I press 1, I pick my main tool, so I can just select different notes, right? Main tool, and again, what was I gonna say? Okay, this is how I assign my shortcuts, right? Take a screenshot of this, whatever you want to do. So again, on Melodyne, you go on settings, your preference. And everything you want to assign is going to be under this section, editing tool. Without shortcuts, I'm nothing. I'm sorry. I don't even know the name of the buttons, guys, because it's been so long that I don't look at the names anymore. My brain just press on 3 immediately. Like I use my shortcuts like nonstop. I never look at the tools anymore. Like that's why I forgot the name of the buttons. Like it's been like, months, like I don't look at those. Okay, so now, right click, normally you can right click, you go on this pitch tool, note separation tool, separate note asterisk, you can do that. Great. Awesome, right? So now this is the vibrato.
Can't coexist.
But of course, I'm going to go back. I'm going to use my shortcut for that. So yeah, I'm just going to use my shortcut. I'm going to click, select the note. To be able to select the note, you can use this thing, main tool. Again, I assigned it to number 1, main tool. And then I press T, I'm done. So I don't go look for buttons, I don't go look for stuff. And again, just to remind you that, you're gonna get used to doing this like maximum in a month. For me, it took like 20 days. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, like it took me faster than that. I'm just not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like, I'm not gonna, actually faster. So I'm always talking about the worst case. Worst case is going to take like a month to get used to it. No, I think it's just going to take like a week or something. You have like 5. I have like 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have Z and I have T. That's all. Like I don't have to overthink. Okay, so let's just be almost done. So what I do with the vibrato, check this, guys. Okay, so this one, normally, this is not how a pretty vibrato looks like. Press 2 or pitch your main pitch tool. Okay. This one, look, this one is down. I want to press, click on it, press option. I want to move it freely. Yeah. You want your vibrato. Look at this. So when you look at the vibrato, guys, these are like how do they say this in English? Oh my God. Mountains. Look at this. This is like a mountain, right? It looks like a mountain. Yeah, these are like the heads, and these are like the bottoms. Or, okay, yeah, let's think about it like heads and the bottoms. So you want the heads to be like equal, right? Imagine this is like you're going to a party, there's like a tall guy, everybody like this tall guy gets all the attention and nobody's gonna be able to see you, right? Wouldn't be so bad. That would be so bad, right? So you want to like make sure all the guys are at the same. Oh my God, oh my God, I shouldn't even share it. Too many bad jokes. Okay, so see, this is like a head. What was I saying? Mounting or head, right? So we kind of try to match them. See, now everybody's tall. I have to cut these parts. Yeah, okay. And these ones, I can totally select these two. Move it like together, move it together. So I can still I can still keep my vibe, my vibrato being like natural, but I'm also controlling them because you should, like anytime you have like a vibrato going like this, more than 1 or 2, yeah, your vibrato should be like around here. Okay, around here. It shouldn't be like this. I mean, there's some type of vocals that I've worked with. They have like real wide vibratos because of the genre, because of their style, because of their voice, right? They have like really huge vibratos. So I didn't touch them, but depends on the genre. Like this is not a good look. You can like move it like this. Even without listening, I can actually make that decision. I know that this is like too much now. And I also want to like make sure this comes closer to the other one so they could sound a little bit nicer together, cohesive, you know, like you don't want your vibratos up and down pitching. I mean, you want it, yes, but you have to make sure they're all at the same same height. Like
Can't coexist.
this was nicer. So what I will do, I will also cut this part. I also cut this one. Yeah. And then I will play with it. I wouldn't play with the whole thing.
Can't coexist.
So what I do, let's just repeat that part so we can talk about it.
This, exist, exist.
So there's one more thing you can do. So you can actually, you know, I double click right now. I lock this one to the note. It's going to be different for every vocal. So once you're done with your editing your vibrato, select all this stuff. This is like the something that I use all the time. Select these and press 2, meaning your pitch tool. See, I'm learning the name of the buttons finally. And what you can do, just do this. Smooth them out. And they're going to sound nicer. Try it.
Exist.
Of course, this note is also bad. The reason we didn't tune this one, and since this is not in tune, that makes the vibrato sounds awful. So now I'm tuning this one, right? I'm using my shortcuts. Great, so I'm tuning this one now. Now it's supposed to sound much better. So when I do this, again, I don't do the pitch tuning much. I try to cut and try to transition. But you can do the pitch tuning to double, actually. You can do press 4, or you can just pitch modulation tool. You can just do it this way. And then it's going to sound like auto-tune, and you're going to back off from that move anyway. So yeah, okay. Anyways, you know, I shouldn't doubt. Like I have these techniques that I learned by myself. I shouldn't doubt. It sounds good. It sounds natural. Okay, so let's just finish the tuning in here. Normally, by the way, I'm going to delete these vocals. I did all the tuning work, but I'm not going to use them. Okay, so you get the idea, right? I'm thinking like, do we have like anything else? Oh, okay. Let me show you one more really cool thing. Let me show you one more thing. I want to just cut this one. This probably supposed to be here. See, I'm tuning without listening. Guys, it's ridiculous. Like how much I have to tune during the day. Okay, so this is really cool. Look, this is really, really cool. Some notes are not loud, right? So select this tool. What was the name of it? It was the amplitude tool. I select this tool. I think, let's say this one is not loud, but this one is loud. If you want to make this one louder, normally I wouldn't do it much unless I see a note super quiet. Actually, you know what? Let's just do it on the vibrato. Let's just, sometimes because my vibratos are not strong enough, never strong, so I can actually do it on the vibrato. I can select this whole thing and I select this thing, amplitude, click, drag it up like this. So you can just make those vibratos hitting harder this way. But this is not a strategic great way to do, actually. Let's just not do it. Okay, so how I will do it, let me show you how I will do it. I wouldn't touch the first one, okay? I will touch these, the one in the middle, and I wouldn't touch the one on the tail. because those are the one makes it like you need to create that differentiation so that way you can create the illusion of your vibratos hitting harder. I use this a lot, guys. Please, like, don't be like, hey, don't think like I'm a singer. I feel so bad when people think I'm a singer. I'm actually not. But yeah, your tools, your super tools. Anyway, so again, I wouldn't do it for this one. I wouldn't do it for this one because these are the natural, like, this is like the transient, this is the tail. I wouldn't do it. If I want to make my vibratos sound more hitting harder, if I want to make them sound a little bit more stronger, I will just do this only on the vibrato section, and I will exclude the transient and the tail. So I will just select these 6 notes. I will increase that. In fact, I will just increase this one a little bit more, and I will play with this one a little bit more. I will even them out. Look, I am trying to even them out with my eyes. So I can do it this way. Oops, not that one, sorry. I can do it this way. Okay, so now I have these 6 notes. They are all different amplitudes, right? Because I edit them individually. So I want to make this vibrato hit nicer and harder, right? Yeah, I want people to believe that I have that voice. Anyways, it's not joke around. See, after 1 hour, I start joking around. That's why I never get hired. I'm joking. Okay, guys. Of course, I get hired all the time. Anyways, so okay, so you select this whole thing, right? And then you press. Actually, you do this, guys. If you do this, since you select the whole area and you're still on this section, you're still on this amplitude tool, right? And you selected this 6 notes and then hover over your mouse, you're gonna see this thing, transition. What is it transitioning? Your amplitude. Sometimes it's gonna transition your pitch, sometimes it's gonna transition your amplitude. In this case, we adjusted the amplitude. So that's why we wanna smooth those out now because they all have like different volume. I mean, we can play and you can hear. Exist. Not so bad, but most of the time you're gonna end up like smoothing them out. The volume transition, guys. Because some vibratos are like gonna be all over the place. Like one of them are gonna be strong, one of them is gonna be super weak. How are we gonna transition? Just make them, even them out and then transition like this. See? This is such a nice way of doing things because it really, really does a good job, in my opinion. And you can even like select this one and transition your amplitude from this one too. So you can even do that. So what I mean, like you can select the whole thing and transition that way. See? You can do that. And you can do this. Depends on how you want things, guys. Okay, let's listen. Exist. This one. See, since I played too much, I played too much. When it comes to like a breathy parts, when you play too much, Melodyne creates this cut effect. So of course it's my fault. I cut. Yeah, great now. So I don't want to touch it anymore. Great. So Melodyne just taught me what I just taught you. So funny. Literally, Melodyne just taught me, hey, do you remember? Like, you were not supposed to do that. I'm like, okay, Melodyne, you are the boss, and I serve you. Don't worry. Again, it did the same thing. So, okay, we're just going back. Oh, probably it's transition. Let's see. Still does it. Okay, so let's go back to the original one more time. Yeah, sometimes you're gonna have like artifacts. Just back off. Do this. Yeah, do this. You can save it like this. Okay, great. Okay, great. Again, normally the song is not like this. I literally made this up.
Let me remind you, however you wish, my attention and my thoughts can't coexist.
Of course, I had to tune that thing too, but since like we're out of time, but don't worry, like I normally, that's not how I will tune things anyways. I mean, that's not how, it's not the song anyways. So, you know what, just come on, let's tune that too. I can never leave work like this. Come on, I still want to show you guys. Yeah, let's just tune that part super easily. here is what yeah, this is the last line.
Can't coexist, can't coexist, can't coexist, can't.
So what I will do, I'll just go back to the original on this one because I still hear the cut. Great.
Can't coexist, can't coexist.
Oh, because of this amplitude change we made. That's why. Okay, now it makes sense. Okay. Do you see this, guys? Because we did the amplitude change. That's why it was like transitioning in a very bad way. That's why.
Can't coexist, can't coexist, can't.
See, I was supposed to separate that. Exactly, that's why. So now I'll just go back to restore to original for this one. See, you can always, fix your mistakes this way. I can't believe. I was just trying to show you guys. Normally I wouldn't do it. Anyways, there's an option to go back to original. Anyways, right? Okay, now it should work.
Can't coexist, can't coexist, can't coexist, can't coexist, can't coexist.
Okay, so you get the idea. Let's just do it.
Can't coexist, can't coexist.
I cut the tail.
Can't coexist.
So I cut this part. I move it. I make sure the cut is perfect. Great. So I'll double click on this one to tune it to lock it. And this one, this transition, I want to double click and move it like this so I can make sure they sound like nice and tight.
Can't coexist, can't coexist, can't coexist.
So for this one, I will probably cut the tail again. And the transient, or actually the transition, this is not really a transient, this is a transient. So since it's like a super short one, double click and lock it to the place. This is a transition. I'm not going to touch the transition. So for this one, the transient, the tail, you can do that, but it's like already in tune. It looks like it's already good. So for this one, I will do this, double click. And yeah, I will just maybe slightly use the pitch drift tool, move it like this. And then I press pitch tool, click on pitch tool so that way I can smooth out those transitions. And again, this is how you tune without even listening.
Can't coexist. Can't.
Okay, great. So this is like, yeah, 6. And then what you can do once you're done, I'll just do it. You know what? It's fine. I'll do it. Yeah, you throw like a super tool, Xbox. I'll just, yeah, you always want to like hear some finished output, like, because you did all the tuning, right? So yeah, just pick some preset. Why not? Whoop. Yeah.
Can't coexist. Can't coexist. Can't.
Okay.
Let me remind you, however you wish, my attention and my thoughts can't coexist. Let me.
But that would be so good if I could sing.
Let me remind you, however you wish, my attention and my thoughts can't coexist. Let me.
Anyway, you get the idea. You get the idea. This is not the real vocals anyways. Real vocals is this, guys.
Let me remind you, however you wish, my attention and my thoughts can't coexist. Let me remind you.
That's the real vocals. So anyways, done. Done. Take care.